It was a battle till the end, and it was no surprise what the game we got in the Class D final. And for the final time at Highmark Stadium, they have crowned a Class D champion, Section 6, and that went to the Newfane Panthers, their first section title in football program history. Welcome, everybody, to the G&G Fitness postgame show. My name's Jacob Fyack. Alongside me is Francis Beck. And Francis, this game had hype from the beginning to the middle and to the end. And at the end, only one had to be champion, and it was Newfane that pulled it out.
Yeah, Newfane held on in that second half. You could tell after coming out of the locker room, Wilson had that momentum from that late touchdown in the first half. They were moving the ball well, and they got a touchdown. And, they brought themselves within one score, but Newfane came up big on that last drive, converting a couple fourth downs before finally scoring. And guess who? Mr. Matt Capon puts on the cape and takes it 5 yards for the game-winning touchdown with 51 seconds left in the game. You couldn't have scripted a much better ending than this.
No, absolutely, and it had to go to the guy who has helped you out not only throughout this season, but also heading up into this game. The five-time Conley Cup Player of the Week got the job done on the ground attack. And what was big on Newfane's side was, even though Wilson was going to make this a close game, they still stayed patient throughout. They stick to their game plan. And when it went to crunch time, you went to your superstar player in Capon, and he got the job done and helped you get the win.
And we should also mention the Newfane defense come up a couple stops late when the game was. Remember, earlier in the fourth quarter, Newfane turned it over on downs after driving, but the Newfane defense stepped up and got the ball back for their team after they gave up a touchdown earlier in the half. So a lot of character, rather resiliency being shown by this Newfane team. Remember, this Newfane team, even though they're undefeated, they've been in a couple close games. They had a 10-point game to go on to this one, by far their closest for sure, but they showed a lot of resiliency in this one to pull out the victory.
Yeah, we'll take a look at the scoring sheet as well. This was a 14-7 game heading to the second half. Newfane pushed that up to a 13-point lead, where Matt Capon got a tush-push touchdown. They didn't get the PAT. That was with 8:58 left to go in the third quarter. But Wilson responded back twice. They were able to score on a Nick Lemke rushing touchdown. They got the PAT to make it 20-14 to end the third quarter. Then into the fourth quarter, Newfane was able to pick up a first down on their drive, but got penalized for an ineligible man downfield. The next play, Seamus George from Wilson almost had an INT, dropped it, but it was a turnover on downs nonetheless. Ensuing drive, Newfane's defense commits a face mask penalty. Wilson then goes down the field, and then their quarterback, Vic Cusadas, on a QB design play, 6 yards to the house. They tied it at 20. They went for the PAT. It was a botched snap. They got the kickoff, but it was no good. So tied 20 at all, heading towards the final minutes of the game, and then Mac Capon was able to punch it in for a 5-yard rushing touchdown. They got the 2-point conversion to go 28-20. Wilson had one more chance with about 51 seconds left at their own 43 with 2 timeouts, but unfortunately they weren't able to get it done. Newfane's defense stood strong, and what we saw in that final drive on their defense, Francis, was the speed and the angles that these players on Newfane's defense was able to go after Crusaders and the offensive line off the edge so they can get into the backfield.
Yeah, you could tell, there was that one high snap, I think, with that second to last play, kind of pushed him back, forced Wilson to take a timeout and lose a lot of yardage, and you could tell Wilson wasn't ready to, didn't really have their, 1-minute offense ready to go down and score, and the Newfane defense was ready for it.
Yeah, like I've mentioned before, this has been a phenomenal game. We knew this was going to be, and the fact that this was the first game of 5 that we're going to get here at Highmark Stadium, it's already getting the blood boiling. It's already spiking up the blood levels, getting that pressure going, and it's intense, and it's going to keep going on here with Class C between Chautauqua Lake, Westfield, Brockton, and Southwestern Frewsburg. But before we get into that game, what we'll do in just about next 15, 20 minutes or so, 2 communities in Newfane Wilson, they got to experience it not once but twice against each other. Back in Week 8, the end of the regular season, Newfane won that matchup, but Wilson knew that they could make this a competitive game. The fans got into it. The marching, the
pep band was amazing.
The prep bands for both teams were phenomenal. You saw from the coaching staff and the players, it was obviously the game of their careers, it felt like. And you got everything that you asked for from this Class D game. This might be one of the more intense I would say high school football games we've gotten here at the stadium in recent memory, considering what this meant for both communities.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the two communities that go back and forth, and sometimes at Highmark you don't always get competitive games like this. So to see a competitive game like this with these two communities who we know really care about their teams, we were getting, I think, a million comments on videos that we've done on these two teams. Like, these fans are really intense. They really love their teams. So this couldn't have been for any two better communities in Western New York.
But only one had to come and get the win. Both teams were coming into this game trying to win their first ever section title, but it was Newfane that got the job done. Congratulations to the Newfane Panthers on your first ever section title in football program history. And that brings us to the end here of our G&G Fitness post-game show. We'll be back in just around maybe the next 15-20 minutes, and we'll start up our pregame show between Chautauqua Lake Westfield Brockton taking on Southwestern Frewsburg for the Class C championship. And by the way, this game here for Class D, for the Far West Regional games, they'll take place at All High Stadium next week. Notre Dame, Batavia, Byron Bergen, the merger of those two schools, are going to take on Avon for the Section 5 Class D championship game Friday night at 7 at SUNY Brockport. So one of those two teams will face Newfane next week at All High for the Section 6 Class D Far West Regionals. We'll sign off on this broadcast. We can't thank you guys enough for tuning into our games here, to our pre-half and post-game shows. We're going to have plenty more coming your way in just the next 20 minutes. Stay tuned.
Why do you exercise? To look better? To feel better? To drop a few pounds? To train for an event? To defy age? Or to keep your ability to say yes to the things you love to do? Whatever motivates you, G&G Fitness Equipment is here to get you there. Treadmills, ellipticals, rowers, bikes, home gyms, and accessories. We'll pair you with the right equipment, teach you how to use it, and be there every step of your fitness journey.